Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I'm new live, so of course that little formal. Thank you, Peter, for being part of the the gathering. Yeah, but what you just said, Peter, you have to repeat this one. Yeah,
Yeah. So what has happened? Do you want me to repeat it?
yeah, absolutely. That's the most important part. That's
So what is happening in this country, and I suspect it's happening in other countries around the world, lawyers are calling it mediation, but what it is a settlement conference. It's not mediation. And down at the pointy end of the settlement conference, a client's own lawyer is telling them what they're going to have to accept. And that's leaving a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, thinking that they have gone to mediation because their lawyer told them it was a mediation. It was not a facilitative mediation, it was a settlement conference.
absolutely.
And we need to define what mediation is very well and promote mediation and differentiate it from the settlement conferences that lawyers are doing.
Yep.
The NMAS in Australia, or AMDRAS, has got a definition of mediation, and mediation is a noun, and the adjective that they use is facilitative. But so often it's not a facilitative and it's not a mediation. It's this settlement conference. The mediator is really a chairperson for that settlement conference. So yeah.
Yeah. No, this is exactly what the issue is. And this, I'm telling you, this is global, what you just said. And this is where it gave the wrong direction to mediation. The word. Now, this is the word that was used. And now, whenever you talk about mediation, and when you talk about even today, luckily, at the grassroots level, a lot of people might not have experienced that. So, that negative aspect of going through that process is not there. Because once you go through that process and you call that mediation, anyone who's going to talk about their experience is going to say, like you said, my lawyer told me this is the way you have to do it. I just settled because of that. You didn't go out happy. It wasn't a process that you said that yes, I actually understood what the other person was all
Mm.
about and where I stood and what I really wanted to do. That feeling is not there. And if you don't have that feeling, definitely not going to tell anyone else to go through that process. So the word of mouth is gone, and this is a process where the mediator and the process has to be circulated by word of mouth. So this is really what you said is actually where the issue for me lies. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why the grassroots movement is all about people experiencing the right people, experiencing the process in the right way. And that is why when you see on my website the humanistic approach and the heart soul spirituality and all that,
Mm.
those are the kinds of mediation we need to promote because the other aspect of it, the settlement conferences, I'm telling you, artificial intelligence will be able to do a better job of that. So if we can leave it to artificial intelligence.
I'm certain artificial intelligence could handle a settlement conference.
Yeah.
Settlement conferences, separate rooms, and it's a proposal that's going backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
Um, I've had I've had requests from law firms to provide a mediation, right? But when we got to the point to the day and to the mediation, what they actually wanted was a chairperson for a settlement conference. And well, that's what I'm getting paid for today.
Exactly. This is what these people need to really understand because lawyers have taken control of mediations. So the mediator, like you said, is just a figurehead there and it is the lawyer's process. And that's the way now what is happening is even the young people in college are experiencing that in these competitions that they go to. So for them, that is what mediation is. And this is what I'm trying to remove, that look, you don't need a lawyer. That's not what is the essential aspect of mediation. Lawyer comes in when required in relation to some law that needs to be looked at or I mean clarified or something like that. Then you bring the person in. So
Hmm.
that hold of dispute resolution that lawyers have, that needs to change. And
Yeah.
this that mindset, like you said earlier, we were talking about that cultural shift. It's that cultural shift where people look at it as a, of course I'm saying that that promotion of that grassroots movement can only happen once we've identified the right people, so that we can actually tell them that okay, these people exist, because the alternative of the people have to be there. By saying that yes, it's a good process won't help. It's about them experiencing it with the right people. So that's where the idea of identifying people through people. So it's not by any other means. So this is okay. I trust this person to help me resolve something. Good. We need that person. Okay, so and so has helped me resolve something. Okay, please give us the names. And slowly, slowly, that database, global database, increases. And which is what I was saying, that in terms of my focus is to keep adding these names, and slowly, slowly, we'll have a global database. And you have an app. You go there. You have a person, and in a way, this is the user experience is guaranteed because the user has given us this name. So
Mhm.
that aspect taken care of, and then it expands into other area, like that's why I all launched these other, all these mediation circles. So we launched that last time with that tourist mediation circle. That's the idea. Now you're traveling somewhere, you have a list of people whom you know who come with that the humanistic approach and that heart soul spirituality thing, and you have a person like that anywhere in the world just to connect, and you have an issue, there's comfort that you get that you have such people around. That by itself is I mean, it's important for people to know that there are people like that, so that if you go to them, it's not that they're going to drag you into some litigation or some something that is going to cost you too much, something like that.
The, often people, and my experience is separated parents, mostly separated parents. They find the lawyer is the person that will fight for them, and the concept for them of the mediator being the peacemaker, not as comforting as their advocates or warrior in the lawyer. So when you come to market the concept of mediation as opposed to the lawyers that say we'll fight and we will win, the 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 lawyer has an advantage there. And I'm sort of how word of mouth can do so much, but how do you overcome the natural instinct and that culture to lawyer up
So
and fight with a
yeah.
lawyer?
No, it's going to be the same thing, Peter. This is again, we have to identify the right lawyers who have that mindset where it is a collaborative approach that they bring in. So those lawyers will
Mm,
also need to be identified. So it's going to be, it's not just like, I mean, everyone thinks I'm only talking about identifying those mediators at the
mm,
grassroots level. It's not that. We're talking about people, what I call this the mediation mindset. We need
yeah,
those lawyers who have that mindset. We have every profession. We need people with that mindset because I mean, if you have, like I keep giving this example of a project. On a project, an architect can have that mindset and be the mediator in that and help
okay.
people. So, so let's just identify those people with that mindset. And once we have that database available to us, then when we go out and tell people that yes, you can experience a different way of resolving things, then things will work. Because lawyers, and now what's happening today is that there's a terminology used. I mean, the training also happening on mediation advocacy. Now, I say that that's a oxymoron. So you don't do advocacy in mediation. You're actually
Yeah.
it's a collaborative process that you have to work on. So, but if we've brought that whole advocacy concept into mediation itself, that means starting point itself as to how you look at the process is different. And that's, I'm telling you, that's how it is being promoted even with these young people in colleges, and with them looking at competitions as a lawyer sitting there and pushing your case as such. I think that whole concept, to change it and to change to come from people who themselves don't have the mediation mindset. I mean, if you think that those lawyers who don't have that mindset, for them to think that you want them to actually take up mediation, and then you do this in courts, then you have mediation search centers made by lawyers who are
Mm.
actually doing litigation. That's what their prime job is. And they also go into these mediation centers and spend some time there. So this is going through people who really don't look at it from, I mean, I'm saying that there will be exceptions. I'm not going to say that it's across the board, but those lawyers who are the exception, those are the ones who have to be taken out and now put into, they can obviously support clients in litigation. There's no problem in mediation. There's no problem in supporting that. But how do you understand the process itself? If you've only looked at settlement conferences, how do you even know that there is another way of supporting your client in a mediation? So,
Mm.
so that's why this whole chain is just going on and on and on, and it just, like I said, not good for mediation, not the mediation as we understand it.
Yeah. The lawyers have got to stop calling settlement conferences mediation,
Yeah, and I'm saying,
or using the word interchangeably. They're different things. And that's where the whole thing is being. Lawyers have done a very good job of muddying the water over the last 10 years on that.
and yes, I mean, 10 years here, they've been, say the US, if I look at it for in the 40, 50 years, that's what's been happening. And that's the way mediation is. So the mediator, first of all, like you said, is really doesn't have that role to play that a mediator should. And
Mm.
then because of that, a mediator is not valued. So what is really happening in the court process is that the mediator is really, first of all, not getting anything. Some meager amount is paid to mediators, and this is across the board in most countries. A lot of countries, I think all countries, I would say, I'm saying all countries for the moment, all
Yeah.
countries, meager amount. I mean, this is someone who has an expertise, but it is shown as if the lawyers are the ones who are actually in some way controlling the process, and he discussed like a figurehead kind of thing. So paid in, say, Nigeria, I think it's about $40 or 40 US dollars for the whole mediation. It can happen whatever, as many
Yeah.
sessions. In India, there are, I mean, we have different states. So in different states, I think maximum, I would think that you have a one that if you get a settlement through, there's a certain amount. But if you don't have a settlement, it could be something like even $50 or something like that. Maybe not even that. So, I mean, there also the emphasis is on settlement. So this is where that whole process goes into that direction, that even the mediator in that case is pushing for a settlement. And
Yeah.
and when you get feedback of people who've gone into those mediations, they say the mediator told us you had to do this. Come off it, then do the whole point of that process is gone. So these are the things that I don't know whether they
Yeah.
actually is there any feedback really available? Is the user feedback coming out of the court system itself? I don't even know if that's happening.
Is the what? So what was the question?
Feedback from the user, feedback from people
The
who've
feedback.
experienced mediation in court system also, whether that feedback is coming or not.
I don't know if there is any feedback about mediation. Um, I don't know if the family law system in this country has any feedback on mediation, or if there is, it's not publicized.
I think, Peter, that's an opportunity. Let's create a survey, let's create a form, and let's circulate it around. And basic as to, have you ever experienced mediation? And just basic questions to understand that, first of all, was it really mediation? And then I think the last question should be, would you recommend mediation to whatever, your family,
Yeah.
friends, whatever? So I think that should be the last question. And let's see, that's make us understand that yes, there is some issue somewhere which needs to be looked at, and this is not going in the right direction, because countries are now pushing this whole concept of mediation through the court system, mandatory mediation as it. And if you look at it the way it's being pushed, it's, I mean, going into levels which are really not good for the process, because now courts are going to consider whether you went into the process in a manner where you were, I mean, looking at it as something which you really wanted to settle in. So they are going to consider that, and going to look at costs based on that. Whether
Mm.
even there was some place, I think it was Singapore, where something came out where there was an offer made in a mediation, and the court said that was a reasonable offer. You should have accepted it. And there were costs on that person. I mean, those are the ridiculous things which are coming out there, that the court is going to decide. There was one particular matter that came out from somewhere where it said that the one of the parties said they did not want to go to mediation, and because they felt that they had a good case, that was their understanding. They did not want to. Costs were put on them, that you should have gone for mediation. I mean, they don't want to. You can't push people into it. That's the thing. And then the court to decide whether even the settlement, the offer given is reasonable or not. I mean, come off it. Now you're going into into a level which is,
Mm.
I think, not not going to be good for mediation at all.
Mm.
The worst is coming out of the court system, I think.
Yeah.
So now yeah.
And in this country, in family law, the huge costs people have to pay to progress through the family law court system, um, it'll consume the equity in their house, or it will consume their property pool.
Yep. So I
It'll
think now,
consume their life savings.
so I think that's why I'm saying, I think let's, on one end, talk about what that term used, whether it should be used for that process, the settlement conferences, whether it should be allowed also to be used in that way.
Yeah.
And that should be done on the other end. I am put out a very simple thing. What I'm trying to look at it, at what I call grassroots movement. I mean, it's nice to say grassroots movement, sounds nice, but actually
Mm.
this is a cultural change, and
Yeah.
the whole colonial structure that is existing, to be able to get people out of that, but give them a choice and give them an option, which actually, for me, only works out with the right people. Otherwise, let's push artificial intelligence. Let's tell them to use those platforms, which they can do today. I'm telling you, I don't know whether you've tried that, Peter. Please try it sometime. Pick up any of
Sorry.
these, pick up any of these artificial intelligence thing like Chat GPT or something,
Yeah.
and tell Chat GPT to be your mediator, and pick up any dispute, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
and say that, okay, this is Peter and say what, say Felicity. Peter and
Mm.
Felicity have this dispute. Now they are sitting with you. Now you are the mediator. Take us through the process, and it'll actually start the process. And then, I mean, I would think that it's best to do it with an actual situation, because then the answer, because it's going to ask you questions about something or the other about it. So you should give answers which are all right. And then
Mm.
you can actually have a situation where it'll have a separate meeting with one of you. So you'll have to tell them now, okay, now it's only Peter with you. So do that. So so actually try that today. It's interesting that all that is available, and I'm saying that I use the free version. The paid version might be even better. But
Mm.
the only issue that comes up here is that because it doesn't have access to what happens in mediations, because that is not recorded, because it's going to learn only from what is available. So what I'm suggesting is that we create, okay, at a certain point, a conflict resolution artificial intelligence platform. So the mediators around the world, they record their experiences in relation to mediation. confidentiality protected. So this was the issue, and this was how the process went, and this is what came out. This was what the
Yeah.
settlement was, or the solution. So everyone, all mediators around the world, if they start inputting that, it has so much to learn from. So it can actually make that whole process better. But today also, if you today ask, go through this, pick up any dispute, take it through the dispute, and at any point in that, say, okay, please suggest some solution to this. So it'll
Mm.
actually suggest very interesting things. I'm talking about commercial disputes. Sometimes very interesting things can come out from that. But any of them, just try it, because you'll see that yes, that is an option available to people in their house today. So if that is how we need to look at mediation, they have that option is developing there. But if you really want to look at that humanistic approach, which for me should come from humans only, so
Yep.
there is a space available to humans in that process, which is what we should call mediation. And then
Yep.
for the settlement conferences, we have artificial intelligence being
AI.
developed. So let's do that, so that people have an option available, cost effective. Sit today and start resolving something.
You'll end up on lawyers' hit lists or something.
I am on that. I have criticized them enough. So this is what we'll promote. We'll send that
Yeah.
message out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that recent one where I actually was a, you know, settlement conference chairperson rather than a mediator, sort of like um afterwards I thought uh because it was sort of so straightforward, I was just sort of like, nah, I've been paid to do a mediation job here, and all I did was go backwards and forwards between the rooms for not very long before I got an agreement. So
Well, that's,
yeah,
but I think
yeah,
whatever I'm trying to do is going to move forward. If you around you, if you have college students to start with, I think
yeah,
those are good things. If you have any college student around you, bring them in. Let's have a conversation with them.
yeah.
I ask them that question that I keep asking college students, that do you know someone? Oh, we had the Italy Mediation Circle gathering. I think this was last week, and there
Mm,
was a mediator from Italy from there. And I asked, her son had just come in to help her on the computer, something some setting or something she was looking at. So asked the son to sit in with us. And I asked him that question. So he gave us his name of his friend, Rocco.
yeah,
So I said, what does Rocco do? And he told him about what Rocco does. And very nicely is put out. I won't even answer it. If you get time, watch that recording. It's lying there on YouTube. And just see that this is all out there. I asked him because I had to know how Rocco went about it. And they very nicely explained also why Rocco could do what he was doing, and how we were so emotionally involved in that dispute or fight, let's just say, between friends, and he was not part of it, so he could understand and things like that. I mean, this is something that people know. It's just that we're trying to create this very technical concept around mediation, which I want to remove. If people understand the process, they understand what mediators do, but they
mm,
don't call them mediators. That's the only difference. So that's all that, if we start from there and we can actually get the entire, I mean, explanation of a process from them, you'll be happy to hear it. It's really nice to hear this, because this is someone who's not connected with this mediation world as it's been created. These are
mm,
people on the ground who are experiencing this on an everyday basis. So to bring that out, because the issue that I'm facing is that mediators still believe that yes, it is only training which is going to make them mediators. And that is why I think there's a mismatch between the user and the way we look at developing mediation. So the mediation world has a lot of discussions and everything, but the user is not connected to it, because you're
yeah,
trying to make a technical thing, rocket science out of something which is basic human interaction. So that's, I think, for me, that's the mismatch.
Yeah.
So if we can actually get those stories, those experiences which are happening out there today on an everyday basis, that I think will change that culture. When you say cultural shift, that's how the culture will shift. That this is something that you are experiencing, and a word we are putting to this, but it doesn't change anything. You should still experience it in that informal concept. Please still do that. But these people whom you're experiencing it with, let them be available to a larger number of people who don't have those people whom they are experiencing. So that's what
Mm.
we need to do. Bring them out, available, publicized in the local community, or I mean, for me, that's that global platform. Like I said, that's to put it out there. These people to be there and valued. That's how I look at change.
Yeah. It's a slow process, though, I think, to get
No, I'm
that
telling you,
cultural
the
change.
Peter, it can be fast. You just think of, just ask around yourself. Any college
Yeah.
student, let's start. Any college student that you know, please bring them in the next gathering. Anyone
Yeah.
that you know, or you can ask them that question. That do you know someone in yours with your friend circle who helps people resolve things? Just ask them that question, and you bring those people who have done that, who've actually done mediations without calling it mediation. Bring them in,
Mm.
and it's you'll be really happy to hear their experiences. That's how, and it can be very fast because we have and there are so many mediators I'm connected to around the world. If all of them just reach out around them, I'm telling you that the numbers you might get in, it might seem that, oh, what is this? It's just a college student. I mean, come off it. What do they know? What do they not know about mediation? That's where the barrier lies for me. There are people who believe that whole training certification route is going to be how mediation is going to develop. But if I can take you out of that and take you into that world, and which is what I did, and this is what I keep doing wherever I get the opportunity, just have that conversation directly with them without using any technical word like mediation. That's also technical for me.
Mm.
Just a simple concept, put it down, break it down into simple words, that if there is a fight between your friends, is there someone who comes in and then tell us what the person is without us even putting words in their mouth. They will tell us everything about it. So please, Peter, if do you know any people in university around you?
No, I'm sort of in a very rural area.
Hmm.
Um, so there's no universities around here, and no,
Okay.
I don't think I know anyone at university. So it's not,
Okay. So
yeah,
anyone, your friends, or anyone who has children in college or something,
yeah.
maybe you can do a Zoom session with them, and at least just have that conversation, because I also want to see that again, what comes out of it. Is it also something that in certain parts of the world that cultural shift will be more difficult because people have become so entrenched in dispute resolution only with an authority figure? So if that's what is in their mind, right, and it's put in at a very young age, then that cultural shift is going to be even more difficult. But if there are still people who have that concept that yes, we have someone around us who can help us resolve it, that'll be
Mm,
easier for us to do. Because this is for me a colonial issue that has been created. That you have these structures created that you have to go to when there is a dispute resolution. So this is not your
yeah,
process.
very much part of the things, a relic from the British Empire.
Yeah.
Where you are at the moment in Sweden, from what I have read, in especially in separated parent space, um, there's very little court litigation. It's and mediation dominates that family law space. Do you know any more than
I'll
what
start.
I've heard?
No, I'm
Is
going to
that
get into the system. I'm going to start exploring this now. I just
sorry?
got here now. First, I'm getting into the place. I'm enjoying the place. Now
Okay,
I'm going to there are mediators that I'm connected to here. So now I'm going to start that conversation to bring them into that. And let's understand. Yeah, that's a good idea. I never thought of it from that point of view. Let me understand. Here I'm here visiting a place, looking at it from the touristic point of view. Now I'm going to
because
look.
it because if because if you can point to a place
Yeah.
where mediation is strong, and I suspect from what I've read, Sweden is strong, especially in the family mediation space. If you can point to that, it sort of sets a goal of we can be like that.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. That's
Um,
damn good. I think what you
because otherwise you're trying to create a vision of what might be, right?
yeah,
But if you can sort of like, well, and from what I understand, Sweden, although you can take something to family court there, everybody sorts it out in mediation. Very little goes to court,
yeah.
right?
So that's on. Yeah.
And that's what I understand about Sweden, but I might be
No,
overstating it, or I'm not sure. I'd love to know
no, I think
more.
we should do that. Yeah.
Whereas Australia is very much following the American model, right? Where you litigate everything, right? Um, or the mindset is to litigate everything. And same with, the colonization,
Yeah.
the the British, from the days when the British ruled the world, it was the British judicial system that they left behind.
But is Australia still a colony?
Australia's had independence.
No,
Well,
but I'm saying, I'm saying,
oh, well,
uh,
our new coins are going to have the king on it.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So to say that we've moved out of it, I don't think that still happened in
Yeah,
Australia.
our head of state is uh,
Exactly.
is
So,
the king,
so you,
which is sort of like at least India moved away from that. Um, and I like the way India has the same person on every note.
I know.
So yeah,
No, but I think what you're
um,
saying is, yeah, but no, I think the important thing is let's also talk to the user here. Let me ask some people who maybe have gone through a divorce. Let me understand from them what really, in terms of the resolution, what were they looking at, and how, first of all, how they were advised in relation to that, and what was their mindset. So
yeah.
people's mindset is also important. That were they looking at resolving it in an amicable manner, because that's an important aspect of the cultural, just the approach.
One of the things that happened here is that you separated parents and they're arguing or fighting, um, and um, both of them will say, "My ex will never agree to anything in mediation. Mediation would be pointless for my ex. It needs a judge to tell them what to do." Right? My case is special type thing. My ex-partner has a personality disorder. Yeah, my case is different to everyone else's case. So there's that sort of mindset. Uh, um, and only in Australian family law, it's less than 5% of cases of family law cases have a judicial decision made. 95% are resolved somewhere in the court system in dispute resolution, right? But so often that is at this settlement conference style of thing, which leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. People talk about how mediation or settlement conference didn't work for them. So you sort of you're up against a tide of that.
Yeah.
So
No, I think interesting thing that's come out from what you just said is that people themselves believe that it is only the courts who are going to be able to do something. So that aspect are lawyers using that mindset and then controlling it and taking them through that litigative process? So I think we have to look at both. I think it's a
Yes.
sociological thing that we need a sociologist to come and tell us how this whole thing is, why that
Yeah.
mindset is there.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea, that I'm in a place which is maybe might be different in their approach, because I do see that yes, they are maybe different because as I see their approach on the road, when I interact with them also. So maybe they look at the dispute resolution differently. That I think is important. So if people look at dispute resolution themselves differently, then are they going through a direction which is actually resolution amicably with the right person, and not that approach that okay, let's go to a lawyer, let's go into litigation, and then in that litigation then let's in a way put pressure on the other side in some way or the other and then resolve. So I think it'll be interesting. Let me do that, and the next gathering I'll try and get some people into that, if I can,
Yes.
someone
Yeah.
who's experienced it. Yeah, I think that'd be
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Peter, please, if you can, please send out a message out to whoever you know, and let's get someone. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be only colleges. It could be communities of various kind. It
Yeah.
could be families also. I'm saying it could be families also. Anyone that you can find who has that mindset, let's bring them in.
Yeah.
That's how this whole global database, that whole platform will actually become the way I'm looking at it, if we get these right people.
Yeah. It's come 7 o'clock. I have
Yeah,
to go.
yeah. And next one, last Wednesday of the month,
Yep.
every month, that's where we meet, and that's the daytime we have. Whatever, if some launches have to happen of any circles, we'll do that on that day. So I also take a little break now. So,
Yep.
but now you've given me a job, Peter. I was taking a break now. You. So,
Okay.
thank you very
Good
much, Peter.
evening.
See you.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Enjoy your time in Stockholm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have some lovely weather for it, I think. So,
Beautiful weather right now. Beautiful. You can't get better.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.